It's Sister and I, your virtual big sister. Welcome back to my channel. In today's episode 4 of the Divorce Diaries, we're going to be talking about dating, and particularly dating after divorce.
Oh my God!
Wow! And also, I'm just going to go back down memory lane and just compare some of the differences that I've noticed with dating after divorce and dating before I was married. And some of the things may be different to the 20s, 30-year-olds and teenagers these days, but I feel like there are some notable differences. But I just wanted to start off by going the biblical way. So in the Bible, dating is not a thing. Situationship is not a thing. Talking stages are not a thing. A lot of people met through courtship, and there's a difference between courtship and dating. Courtship is really essentially intention to get married. You start off by intentionally wanting to get married. There is no getting to know each other. There is no time for delay. You're basically getting into it straight into marriage. So you see that with Ruth in the Bible. Ruth was not about to be messing about with Boaz, because in those days that's the way things were. You see that with Rebekah, and you see that with Rachel and Leah, and a few more in the Bible. Deborah was already married. Esther was part of selection of girls that were supposed to have an audience with the king. But for today's purposes, I'm going to go into Genesis chapter 24, and we're going in when Abraham was old and he sent his servant to go and find a wife for Isaac. And when Abraham sent the servant said, how am I going to find this woman for your son? And Abraham said, don't worry, the presence of the Lord will be with you. So I'm just going to paraphrase and summarize the text. And essentially, when the servant went to look for the girl, he was sent to look for a girl in Abraham's family. He didn't want Isaac to marry a Canaanite woman. He wanted Isaac to be married to a woman within his bloodline, within his family. So when the servant got to the well where he met Rebekah, he had prayed beforehand, and he said, Lord, please, when I get to the well, the woman that is going to give me water and that is going to water my camels will be the one. And sure enough, when he met Rebekah, Rebekah did offer him water, and she also offered his camels water. And then he asked her who her family was. I'm the daughter of Bethuel. This is Genesis 24 verse 24. The son that Milcah bore to Nahor, and she added, we have a plenty of straw and fodder, and as well as a room for you to spend the night. So Rebekah was very hospitable. She welcomed him, and then eventually he went and he explained this whole thing to Laban, who was Rebekah's brother, and she basically was given, her hand in marriage was given to Isaac based on everything that the servant explained. Abraham had told the servant that if you go there and you don't find a wife for my son, you will be let go, you'll be free, you will not have any obligation to worry, but you'll be free. But ultimately, Isaac ended up getting married to Rebekah following this process. And what was interesting in the Bible is that the part of courtship is that you're not doing it alone. You have family, you have mentors, you have people that help you as part of that process of getting into that marriage, into that relationship, into that marriage. Because in the kingdom, it's either you are married. If you're not married, then it's something else. And that is something that is rich coming from somebody who's divorced, because ultimately divorce is something that is not fully explored and even talked about, especially in the church. But we do know that from Malachi chapter 2, God talks about why he hates divorce, and I went through that in my other episode. And we also know that Jesus explains it in Luke chapter 7. I also explained it in the last previous episode. So please feel free to go back and watch some of my previous videos. And now we're here talking about courtship and dating. So what was different back when I was in my 20s was that most likely it is similar, was that when you're in college, when you're at school, when you're in those social settings, it's much easier to meet somebody. And often you're still in the friendship group, so you're able to get to learn somebody's character, learn someone's values, learn someone's integrity. You're able to gravitate towards someone in a natural, organic way. Now, even though we had Match.com, websites like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, all of those came along much later. Now, for me, I had the privilege of meeting people organically. And although I was a young person around that stage, I wasn't really one of those people that was always courted and pursued by a lot of men. That wasn't my story. Fortunately, I met my ex-husband in college. We were first friends, and then we started dating after we had finished college. We actually bumped into each other one random day, and it was like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, I haven't seen you for a long time, and so on and so forth. And we exchanged numbers, and it developed from there. But in any case, we met organically. I knew him, he knew me, and it was through friendship and our friendship circle that we met. And in many ways, that was a lot more seamless and much easier to meet somebody, because with online dating, you have no idea what you are getting. You have no idea who you are speaking to, and of course, it's become something of a hookup thing, especially with online dating. Certain websites are very well known for being hookup places. Although some people do meet on those websites, they do have serious relationships. However, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. In fact, when it comes to finding the right partner, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack anyway. But it is made easier when you've got situations where you can do courtship, where courtship is involved. I feel that the family can get involved, church can get involved, and it's a lot safer to do that. Or sometimes there was a time when I actually thought, you know what, arranged marriages are not such a bad idea after all, because there is a lot more involvement and there's more depth in terms of understanding the person. You understand if they've got any mental health problems, any physical health problems, anything that you need to ask, finances, you need to ask about their family. Those things are really, really important to ask. But when it comes to dating now with online, where everybody's now sliding in each other's DMs, where everyone now is getting to meet online, I think it's something that I'm finding and learning that it's so different, and I'm having to wrap my head around it. So as for me, when I haven't dated, it hasn't gone to that yet. I have had some discussions like where people have been sliding in DMs, or where I've previously been online and I decided that this was not the right time, which is why healing is really important. Because sometimes when you are not fully healed, you can continue to attract and also accept relationships that are unhealthy, and you end up attracting the same person in a different body, or you end up constantly being in a cycle of repeated behaviors. And in my view, I feel that developing a discerning mindset is really important, and an openness is really important, but also asking God to be your matchmaker. I was reading a book by Derek Prince, which is called God the Matchmaker, but I didn't finish it. So I'm not going to tell you the full thing, but that is the part that I was reading was so important. And I feel like at the time I wasn't really ready to read that book in that depth. But I feel that generally, as a Christian, and if you are coming on my platform, I tend to talk about things from a biblical point of view, from a Christ-centered point of view. And so as a child of God, when it comes to dating, I think we got to do it in a different way, with intentionality. And like I said, dating is really not a concept that is biblical. So now, with dating, what can I say now after divorce? For me, it's been a real shock. And it's been a thing where I just think you've got to pray. You've got to pray.
Pray. You will pray. You will pray. You will pray till they call you prayer. Yes.
The prayer has been the reason why I probably haven't been going on a date, because on an official date, because before and when I meet somebody, before we could even get to that, I'm praying that dangerous prayer. Lord, reveal this person to me. Lord, remove this person if they're not the right person. And sure enough, I haven't had a conversation for more than 5 days, 2 weeks with anybody that has been serious, because what I'm noticing is 3 things. Number 1, the discussions are hyper-sexualized, overly sexualized. Right from hello, nobody really cares to know you. Number 2, love bombing. Instant, I love you, I love you, I want you, you're beautiful, I want you, I want you, I love you. Number 3, talking about marriage. Before you even get to know the person, you haven't even asked the pertinent questions or nothing. And I feel that, number 1, the sexualizing, it's for that person who's riddled with the spirit of lust. And often that also can come over to you. Number 2, the I love you is that I feel that there's this expectation that women wants to hear that they are being loved. And number 3, the marriage, that they want to be married. And I don't mean to be funny. I don't mean to be funny. I'm divorced. I'm not really rushing to go into another marriage. In fact, if I was to get into another marriage, I would take my time. So I'm learning to slow things down. And when you slow the person in the conversation, more often than enough, a day or 2, even whilst you're talking on the phone or on the messages, you will see the true colors of the person. When you slow them down, they've got no desire to get to know you, no desire. Everything is rush. Tell me now that you like me. And often, recently I was told that I'm not affectionate and I'm not a great communicator. The only reason why I was accused of that is because I was supposed to say that, oh, I really like you, when there was no definition of what the relationship was about. How can you send me a DM and you say, oh, you like me, and you think you think I'm a nice lady or whatever, and suddenly I'm supposed to say, oh, I like you as well, and we should. Since when has it been so quick? Since when are we rushing to profess each other's feelings when there isn't any feelings that have been developed? I don't care whether we are in 2025 or whether we're back in 1998 or whether we're going to 2030, whether we're going to 2040. These things will never change. If you are pursuing, a real man will pursue, and you would have to practice patience, and you will need to express yourself properly. And if you're not expressing yourself properly, you are not to expect a young lady or a woman to chase you. Because once I'm chasing you, I'm no longer in my feminine energy and you're no longer in your masculine energy. Once I'm chasing you down, hounding you down, it's not fun. And it shouldn't be like that. Because I want soft life.
I live soft life, no stress.
And it's so shocking for me. It really is shocking for me to see how things have changed in the dating world, that it's such a rush. Everything is rushed. And I just think, wow, what is happening? And I really empathize for the men and the women or that are in their 20s and their 30s that are trying to find a real life partner who's serious in this needle trying to find a needle in a haystack, because it's so difficult. And the shocking part is, even if you go on Christian dating sites, it's exactly the same. And you just wonder that where can you find a safe space where you can find integrity, where you can find faith, where you can find, it's just, to me, to some people, they might think that I've got a negative attitude. For me, I'm too traditional or whatever. No, I'm not opposed to anybody professing how they feel. But the point is, profess how you feel and be genuine about it. You can't play with somebody's heart like a ping pong. You know, you can't play with somebody's emotions like a ping pong. It's that simple. It really is that simple. That you've got to at least date with intentionality, or talk to people with intentionality. And it's not always necessary that there's any romantic connection. Sometimes you just like the person for their personality. Sometimes you just like them. And it's okay. Deborah was a married woman, and she went to war with Barak. And they didn't have to have a romantic connection. They had a common goal to win a war. And for 40 years, there was peace. Because Deborah was a judge, and she had her expertise, and she had her own knowledge. And Barak was an army major, a military man. So they worked together to win a war against Sisera, King Sisera. And that is in Judges chapter 4 and Judges chapter 5. But there was no need for them to have a romantic connection. Deborah was already married, and her husband respected the job that she did, which was a male-dominated type of a job. So sometimes there is no romantic connections. You just like the person. But there's this whole idea that males and females cannot work together. Males and females cannot be friends. Males and females cannot have platonic relationships. It's not always that you have to mix the romantic relationship with what is meant to be platonic. And sometimes, because you might be visible, maybe you've got a YouTube channel, maybe you're on TikTok. I share a lot of these things on my TikTok page. I've neglected my Instagram, but a lot of the time, because you're visible, or somebody sees you, maybe you meet them at work, they suddenly feel the need to just make sexual advances unnecessarily. And yet all they are supposed to do is just be nice and be kind, and we talk and we say hello and we say goodbye. Simple. But I have to say, and I understand this has always been the same from the beginning of time, but at the end of the day, I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about having proper, real relationships. So I'm learning, and I've had to learn very quickly that it's a game. People are playing a game. And I say to myself, I'm not partaking in this Game of Thrones, game of psychological mind games. I'm not partaking at all. And everything, I've put it in God's hands, and I've said, Lord, you know my end from my beginning. You are the Alpha and the Omega. And you are the one who knows me totally, and who knows what my future holds. You know exactly what my tomorrow holds. And at this moment, I choose to find healing, to find joy, to enjoy life as you've given me. And to me, this is what I wanted to talk about when it comes to dating. And in as much And in as much as I can be open about it and get myself out there and so on, it's not that I haven't, I don't want to get myself out there, but I choose to be intentional about the dating. And I pray that we become intentional. And one of the things that I learned from the Bible stories that we hear of Rachel was a shepherd when Jacob noticed her. Rebekah was at the well when the servant noticed her. Esther was an intellectual woman. She had support from her uncle Mordecai, and she was a strategic woman. And Ruth had Naomi, and Naomi was her mentor, ex-mother-in-law, and she was family to Ruth, Naomi. And all those people in those Bible stories, they had support. They had people that were on their side. The women were busy. And I think that is the trick, and that is the secret, to be busy working in the fields, gleaning like Ruth was gleaning in the field when Boaz noticed her. To be busy at the watering well, to be busy as a shepherd, to be busy being prepared and being made ready for this relationship, this marriage. But whilst you're busy, it's not going to be something that you would idolize, because unfortunately this is something that has been happening. And I know too well, even during my time when I was in my 20s before I got married, I idolized marriage as well. And when you get to a point when all your friends are getting married, all your friends are having babies, all your friends, and you suddenly feel the urgency to do what everybody else is doing. But often that is a trap. Often that is a big mistake that most of us do. And that's why sometimes people end up in divorce and end up having situations that they regret, because they would have prematurely done something that they were not supposed to do. God was never invited to that wedding. God was never invited in any of that situation. So I hope that you found this video informative, and until next time, please subscribe, share, hit the notification button, and come back for the next video. And I think in the next video we're going to tackle remarriage after divorce, and I know this is a controversial one. Stay blessed.